Hello, dear friends. Everyone is asking when this nightmare will end, but no one can give answers but science. Opinion piece. How long does the Great Tribulation last? All is in flux. Will it last only 3.5 years? Don't surrender to fear and war. This period would end in June 2023. We are at the end of biblical times. No one knows the day or the hour, but there are signs. The Great Reset would be the Great Rejection, says David Morgan. Let's start. This question has many answers, but no one really knows for sure, just as no one knows how long the putrefaction of alchemical gold lasts until it reaches the sublimation and becomes the bread of heaven, the water of life, and the salt of the earth. In short, the tribulation would last 3.5 years, and the Great Tribulation another 3.5 years. If the health crisis began in January 2020, the 3.5 years would be fulfilled by the end of June 2023, but this is only speculation. According to Christian tradition, the tribulation would last 7 Hebrew prophetic years of 360 days, and the Great Tribulation would occur in the second half of the period after the so-called Abomination of Desolation, which would mark the midpoint of the tribulation. There would be a final Passover or a final purgatory before the final parousia, or second coming, that would shake the faith of many. Tribulation means persecution or adversity suffered by a person, distress, sorrow, grief, torment, or moral affliction. In Christian eschatology, the Great Tribulation is the period of humankind's history announced by the Master to his disciples on the Mount of Olives. The tribulation is a relatively short period of time during the end times when all would experience worldwide hardship, persecution, disaster, famine, war, pain, and suffering, which would affect all creation and precede the judgment of all when the second coming takes place. The approach of Catholicism says that the term is addressed to each person individually, who is tested according to his faith. In quotes, "Blessed is he who knows how to wait and comes to 1,335 days. That is a little more than 3.5 years. Daniel 12:12. However, Dr. Irving Baxter, an expert in the study of the end times, says that the Great Tribulation would last only 3.5 years and claims that there is no biblical evidence for a 7-year tribulation, not for a mid-tribulation rapture. He says there is a 7-year period called Daniel's 70th week, but that the Great Tribulation would not begin until the middle of that period. Furthermore, every reference to the Great Tribulation in the Bible is 3.5 years. It also suggests that the days would be shorter during this period in order to alleviate the suffering of the writers, and that this would already be happening right now. The prophecy appears in Matthew's Gospel, in quotes, "For then there will be great tribulation, such as not been since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever shall be, and except those days should be shortened, no one could be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. Characteristics of the Great Tribulation. Some Christian schools of thought, which have interpreted the passages of Revelation as prophecies, have come to the conclusion that the following events would take place in the Great Tribulation. First, this period would last a short time, in quotes, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Matthew 24:22. It would also include an increase of natural disasters such as earthquakes, plagues, famine, tidal waves, etc., and also prodigious signs and portents in the sky, such as UFOs, represented through the horsemen of Revelation. It would begin with the proclamation of peace and safety prophesied in Thessalonians 5:3, and then with the destruction of Babylon the Great. The prophecy says that there would be astrological signs for Christians, which would be interpreted as signs of their salvation, and as terror and distress for wicked people. Third, the center of this prophecy would be the second coming, when the whole world would be weary of waiting for the coming of the Savior, with an army of angels to protect the children of light, who would be persecuted at that time, after prodigious portents in the heavens that would foreshadow the deliverance of humankind, animals, and the planet. News of the reset. The storm has come. The great global event of awakening has begun, and it will intensify rapidly. Today will be a new day. We are witnessing the destruction of the old guard. According to the X-22 report, they have taken the economic bait and they are trapped. We are very close now. The world is in chaos. Be prepared to fasten your seatbelt, as we will be going full speed ahead at any moment. God has called the humanitarians to help the world. The demolition of the Georgia Guidestones would symbolize a metamorphosis for humankind, says Celia Farber. Jim Stone believes the destruction of the stones was an inside job. U.S. judge declares an invasion of the Mexican border. Mexico claims the U.S. cannot control its border. Western Europe is on suicide alert as food and energy collapse worsens. Famine and chaos in the Netherlands over a food crisis through green loss. The UK is heading for mass civil unrest. More and more Britons feel they have nothing to lose. Why is Bill Gates in London at the same time as Boris Johnson's resignation? UK ministers who resign are entitled to £420,000 in severance pay. After Finland is admitted as member of NATO, it has seized almost 1,000 Russian freight wagons. Charlie Watts said the Saudis have already joined the BRICS. Iraq has been connected to the QFS since Wednesday, 6th July. The new international rate of the dinar will be published in its gazette this Saturday, 9th July. Flights were no longer going in and out of Iraq and other countries due to the White Hats wanting to detain certain defendants. There are 130 to 140 countries that now have asset-backed currencies. Fiat currencies are about to fail, as has been predicted for decades, but remember that apocalypse also means new financial system. China and Russia vital troops in Central America. German financial expert sounds the alarm as the country records its first monthly trade deficit in 30 years. The World Economic Forum was declared war on agriculture. China's economy is coming to an end. Shocking revelation from a bank employee in Sichuan province. He added in quotes, all kinds of ways of drinking poison to quench thirst have emerged, such as hanging interest and transferring capital, and paying debts with capital. China partially closes the world's third largest port after a single case of the bug, sparking global supply fears. A biological weapons lab was found in Mozambique and destroyed by the White Hats 4 days ago. 80% of private and commercial flights have been grounded, which is why the dark side cannot travel. During the last 4 days, the EBS and the CERN Hadron Collider have been tested. CERN needs a lot of water to run in order not to heat up. There has been a lack of water in Lake Mead. The ground around these border states has warmed up. Have you heard a strange sound or noises? Are your animals misbehaving? Do you feel a different energy sometimes? Are your ears ringing? There is nothing to worry about at CERN because the good guys are in control. The maglev trains in and out of CERN were built with Tesla technology. They call it an advanced Hyperloop transport system that can reach speeds of up to Mach 2. You can travel from Los Angeles to New York in 26 minutes. They went to Mars in 1903 and again in 1947 with Tesla's anti-gravity system. There is technology to travel faster than the speed of light. They go to places 100 light years away in half of an hour, and we travel in an aluminium can with wings full of explosive fuel, paraffin. A solar storm could trigger massive power outages. The water levels in the Hoover Dam are approaching what is known as the dead pool, when it can no longer produce power. The EBS will make sure that everyone is safely located at home and can witness the historic moment that reveals all the truths. Only a select few know the exact moment of events. It must be kept secret for security. During those 10 days of communication blackout, the following things would happen. The EBS would play 8-hour videos 3 times a day during 10 days of darkness. The Ethernet network will not work during that time, nor will ATMs. After 10 days, we will be connected to a new quantum internet. Amazing. The United Nations was forced to remove a bizarre satirical piece praising the supposed benefits of world hunger after an online backlash. A piece by Professor Josh Kent of the University of Hawaii said hunger was fundamental to the functioning of the economy. For the economy of Hungary, in this view, hungry people are the most productive where there is a need for manual labor. If he likes hunger so much, let him lead by example by fasting himself. The Great Reset would be the Great Rejection, according to David Morgan. You stay out of the system as best as you can, which means you use cash rather than cards to avoid anyone monitoring your spending. You can trade in silver and gold, try to grow your own food, make friends with farmers, and they will teach you how to farm. There are many things you can do to control your sovereignty. You will see a disintegration of centralized power and an empowerment of local communities. You can not only collapse social security and pension schemes, but the system in general. We are fighting against principalities and powers of evil. Curious. The Atlantis Gene by Grant Ouellette. The Great Leap Forward is probably one of the most discussed aspects of evolutionary genetics. We know that about 50 or 60,000 years ago, we got a lot smarter very quickly. We just don't know exactly how it happened. For the first time, humankind began using complex language, creating art, making more advanced tools, solving problems, and so on. Off the coast of Antarctica, a research ship discovered a mysterious structure buried deep within an iceberg. Buried for thousands of years, it is impossible that it could have been made by the humankind today. Around 70,000 years before Christ, a volcano called Toba erupted in Sumatra, Indonesia, sweeping approximately 2,800 cubic kilometers of vaporized rock into the air and darkening the air for 6 years. It is the largest volcanic eruption we know of. The battle to save humankind has begun. It seems that the light workers and their meditations have helped to free humankind from the moon matrix that David Icke described many years ago. Mother Earth is smiling broadly. Every soul has an inherent genius, according to Judith Castle. On the old Earth, after the fall of Atlantis, the veils of amnesia fell, and therefore most souls forgot the truth of who they really are. When we remember the truth of who we are, we can no longer shrink. We now remember and therefore realize that we have a soul mission that we agreed to fulfill in our contract before we were born. This is what gives meaning and purpose to our life. This is what will keep us going when the going gets tough. It will be our shining beacon of light, helping us to persevere against all odds, always with the ultimate goal in mind. As we ascend, the attributes of the soul shine brighter and brighter. We begin to live our authentic truth and are no longer bothered by what other people do, think, or how they behave. We simply follow the song of our inner soul and work to the music as visionaries, as prophets, as those who see into the distance, because we know where we are going. We simply stay disciplined and focused on fulfilling our mission. come what may, with great love and devotion. Tips. Puffiness said, "It is recommended that all find common ground between you and others. Stay focused and aware of the ever-changing landscape of politics, religion, financial affairs, spiritual upliftment, and patriotic endeavors. In short, be aware and make it your business to support the efforts of those who seek to overthrow the myopia of sleepwalkers. There is simply no way for them to understand how myopic they are. To us, it is very obvious from a bird's eye view. There are efforts to quiet the noise and transition many good people into the true light of events. We love the ways of the old days that seek to proclaim the Constitution and all things sacred. Do not give in to fear and war. You are all asking for more information and a delivery date, none of which we can give you, nor could we even if we knew. There is nothing we can report at this time. Nothing holds even as we see changes. Everything is in flux. There are many working to bring some changes, but none leading fully at this time." And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.